Welcome back to the channel. So in this part 2 of this build, we're going to go through the painting and weathering. I'm going to talk you through this a bit more than in the first part. So starting off, we got Mr. Color 365. I'm using two different pots here. So I'm using up a pot I got in a set and going through some different colors as well that I've got. So we got 326 there, which I'm going to use as pre-shading, and it's all going to be cut with Mr. Color thinners, leveling thinners, sorry. So over a black base, this is Mr. Surfacer 1500 black. Just let that dry down, made sure it's all smoothed off and everything's how we want it. And then I was just going over with air there, just to blow it back a little bit. I apologise for it being slightly out of focus, that will be sorted momentarily. So I'm just going now over with that 326, which is a bit of a darker colour. Just trying to build up patches and get some intensity in the colour and lift it off that black. So the idea is to using the black base to really give you a very strong colour. And then we're going to go over that with the actual colour we want. And the fact that it's black means that it blocks it out. So you could argue on whether if it was over a light colour, whatever. What it gives us is a very strong base to then go forward to show the colour. So I'm just going over very lightly at the minute, just misting over, just seeing how the finish goes with the Mr. Colour lacquers, with Mr. Leveling thinners, lots of misters here. It gives a really nice consistency. And as it dries back quite quickly. The Mr. Leveling thinners has a bit of a retarder in it, but that doesn't make a huge amount of difference. And you don't need to use the leveling thinners all the time. It's just kind of the default thing I go back to, really. And now you can see just building up in stages. And I'm not trying to just blast a coat over there all in one go. And you can see how smooth the Mr. Surfacer Black 1500 actually went on. I think I sanded it back in places as well, just buffed it back a little bit with the sanding sticks. And the idea again is to keep that smoothness coming through into the paint colour. Here you can see now where I've built up some of the patches using the different colours, and then we're going to go all over with the actual shade that we want. Now you can see the effect you get. Kind of trying to give that feel of like a bit of a worn aircraft. Again, I was starting this model ends up somewhere different to where I sort of envisioned it from the start, but I've got plans to revisit this one at a later date, actually maybe in a slightly larger scale but from the same manufacturer, so watch that space. It could be a long way out in in the future, but nevertheless that's where I'm going to go to town on it. I think using masks is the way to go for a start for the insignia. Decals, I don't know if you can get a really fantastic finish on a model like this, on this sort of finish. I don't think decals can do it because it's all about that final look. There's some schemes that decals are absolutely fine, but on this I just feel like you've got to do such a great job. The decals need to be absolutely perfect, whereas if you spray on your insignia, it's only white from what I can tell, most of it, with the sort of dark blue roundel bit. So yeah, that's what I'm thinking. But here you can see again using that pre-shade. Don't know if I've ever done this on the channel before. It's a technique I do now and again depending on what the subject is. Felt like this subject benefited from it, so I've gone and done that. And I felt like this ribbing here, I thought this was like a canvas area, so I'm trying to give that a different feel as well. And typically with this sort of technique, it happened to me like it happens to everyone. You get it perfect, you think I'll just do one more pass, and it completely vanishes because you've just put one little bit too much colour over and it just blocks it out. I would definitely advise do a little bit like that. See, that's what I wanted, and I go over with another pass and it just obliterates it. It's still there if you look for it, but it's not as pronounced. I would strongly suggest getting to this stage, sitting it down, letting it dry, come back the next day, don't rush it, I always rush through these things, and then say, does it need another pass, or is it what I'm looking for? And always finish with it not being blocked out too much. Show some of that pre-shading through, because when you get into the weathering, if you think it looks strong or stark, it's just going to be fine come the weathering, so just don't worry about it. This is my more recent choice as far as a method for masking off wheel wells and things like that. I usually spray them up initially, and then I decide that I'm going to put foam in and all the rest of it, and I never do. So what I do now is paint the colour, don't worry about what the wheel wells are like, and then put masking tape over them, and then with a very sharp blade just cut around the edges. Don't need to be perfect, because you can always spray to the right or left to get in there, and just pull out those sort of templates and then spray in from there. It works very well for me. You should get the magic moment shortly. It's all a little bit long-winded, this, but that's just the name of the game. And I couldn't see the edge there, so that's why I've pressed on it. And there you go. It's as simple and as easy as that. And again, you don't need a tight edge because you're not spraying up to that. You're spraying underneath it. You want the masking tape just to cover it. And tell me you haven't got spray discipline without telling me you haven't got spray discipline, eh? There you go. Just didn't trust myself. I was going to have green all over it, so I covered it up. Now we're on to the missiles, which is new for me. However, again, looking at the future of the channel, this might not be the first time we do missiles. Because there's plenty of subjects that have missiles that aren't from the Second World War. So there we go. We might be seeing one of them again in the near to far future. Just depends. We'll have to see. There we are. Spraying it up. I'm just using the Tamiya colours straight off the instructions here, to be honest. I didn't know what they were meant to be. And I think they're meant to have a gold or silver tip, and I didn't do it in the end. The build got too long-winded, so I thought, well, I'll just, they're fine. They're painted up. They have the markings on them. So now we get to the main event. This is why I bought this kit. This was the whole reason I was going to do this sort of standalone video on how to use Tamiya decals with the new Mark Setter and Softer, and how they just go on and everything's fine. I mean, I follow a few guys online. I won't actually mention their names. I nearly did, but I thought it was better I don't. There has been notable modelers who've always said, I don't know why people have so much trouble with Tamiya decals. Just use the Japanese setting solutions and it's fine. Well, two things. First thing, I don't think that chap realised that there was two versions of this. This is the blue and green top setting solutions from Mr. Hobby. Guns, whatever you want to call them. In the UK, we used to have them in a square bottle, and they were called Neo. So they're Mr. Setter Neo, Mr. Softener Neo. Those did not have the active ingredient that it took for Japanese decals to be bedded down. After a very long time, these have now reappeared. So these are what used to be available in the UK and haven't been for a long time. So I jumped on the opportunity to get them and then see how they work with Japanese decals. Well, long story short, didn't get very far. My first initial response would be, do not use Mr. Mark Setter. I believe that's for a different reason than just getting the decal on. So if we compare it to set and sole, you've got blue and red, set and sole. Blue goes under the decal, helps it adhere. The red, which is the set, the red sole helps it conform. I'm going into the same principle here. I think Mr. Mark Setter is a very strong, quite potent cellulose-based glue. Or it's meant to react with the glue. I don't know. My advice would be use super hot water for the Tamiya decals. Don't use the blue one. Just get rid of that. It completely messed up my paintwork here. This is over. I think this has a gloss coat on it as well. all lacquer based, and the blue one, the Mark Setter, just ate into the paint. I got in a right old pickle. Long term, I had to actually spray back around these decals because the paint was in such a mess, so I had to sand it back and then spray it back. Now, the green top does not affect the paint. So that's the good news. You can use the green one. Ultimately, I was getting the same results not using the green and blue top mark setters and using, as you can see here, the ultimate, I don't know what they're called now. Goodness knows. Ultimate products, whatever it was, their setting solution. Using other setting solutions. I've even got some solver set. All of that did the same thing. And ultimately, it got us to a point where if you want to get a nice result from Tamiya decals, I think it's the same old thing. You need to put them on as best you can. You need to cut around the carrier film as best you can on the sheet. You need to get them on and hammer them down with the best setting solution you can find to work for you. Then gloss over them, sand back, and then matte it down. And that's a lot of stages of that gloss, sand, and then you will get rid of the pronounced thickness to the decal. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, then Tamiya decals are renowned for being extremely thick, very difficult to use, and hard to actually make work. I basically got to the end of that, realised I've just decided, I've done a whole build, which has been quite involved, based around one area. And I ran out of time. We moved house, baby got older, etc, etc, etc. There we go. You've just seen that was nearly a year. It has come a full year now when you're seeing the video. So I thought it's time to finish this. I did sort the decals out, like I said. I basically sanded them back as best I could, tried to sort out the affected paint, and then resprayed it and just got back to a standard. There's the base that I showed you there. That was the first one I bought off of Etsy, it might have been, or eBay, can't remember. 3D printed. Then this one got re-released, which is the Eduard deck. I think, the happy medium in between both of these would have been cutting the Eduard deck down by a half or a third or whatever. But I just couldn't be bothered to do that in the end. It's too much involved in this model. Far too much content to abandon it. Far too much put into it to abandon it. So the bases were going to cause me an issue. They've gone down the side of the wardrobe. They're out the way, not to be seen here, and let's get on and finish it. So I did start doing some oil work, which you can see here. And then I thought, well, actually, let's just use the Flory Dark Wash. It's dark dirt wash. It's been a long time. It's good stuff. Having a bit of a renaissance with nostalgia, going back through things when I started getting back into the modelling. And Flory's website is one place that I did join for a good number of years. Very much enjoyed it. Keep thinking about going back, but I think I haven't got. I stand to gain nothing. And we've got our own community here, so good things in the past. It's nice to keep in with what he's doing, seeing the updates. And it just reminded me of the wash that I had there. I think my friend Dan as well was using it on a build, and I thought, God, well, I haven't used that wash for a long time, so let's do it. So here we are. Clay wash was all the rage back in, 2015, 2016. When I got in, everyone was doing clay washes. Never heard of the stuff. Fantastic. They have their limitations, but they also have their place. Now, I don't think you can just build an entire model. You wouldn't want to build a 1/32 Tamiya Corsair, get it all painted up with loads of aftermarket, and then just hit it with a clay wash. That would be doing it a disservice. Similarly, the clay wash does stand to offer you more than what you get from, say, an enamel wash. So really the basic way of doing it is, I would suggest using this is kind of an initial laying down some interest. It's not just a panel line wash. It gives you subtle variations across the panel that you put it on, or across the wing. So, you'll see there now, as I start to sort of finish this off, this is just, you just paint it on, let it dry, use water, wipe it back with a cloth. It's as simple as that. If you don't like it, make it wetter and wetter and wetter, and you'll take most of it off. But you'll see just across those top panels there at the leading edge, there's more going on. It's not just a panel line wash, and that's that dark dirt getting caught up in the kind of satin matte finish that I've got on there, giving interest. So if you were then to go on top of that, once you're happy with where this is, and then go on top of that with your oils and your enamel washes, it's going to give you an added effect over what you get from just using enamel washes. And because of that, I think it's a useful tool to have in the arsenal. It can be easily sort of poo-pooed, you know, don't just use a clay wash. Who uses a clay wash, etc., etc., etc. I wouldn't worry about stuff like that. I think this is a useful bottle to have on your shelf, and I think it's too easy to get them just using the same products that everyone else uses. It's good to mix it up. So using this dark dirt wash, there's others. Dark dirt's the classic, and to be honest, I don't think you need any others personally. I've had a white one for a long time, never used it. So because I figured I could lighten the dark dirt with the white. There's no need. Dark dirt's just kind of like the perfect shade, if you like. Now you can see, you're just wiping it off. There's no smelly thinners. Nothing like that, and that's where it really got its kind of niche, really, you know, is the fact that it was a wash you can use, that you don't need to actually worry about thinners or anything. You know, it's just water-based. It's hard as nails once it's on, tough as old boots, no problem. Probably tricky on armour. You'd have to be careful on the armour, how you use it. I'm just going to show you now, because I've shown you getting it off, but this is how I put it on. So I do it in sections. So I'm now going to put it all over the areas that I didn't do. And it's as simple as this. Good shake up, because it's a clay pigment-based product. So you really want that pigment up in the water or the carrier, and then apply it on. And it really is as simple as, you know, you just hammer it on. You can even airbrush it on. I haven't put it through my airbrush, but I know you can. Be cautious about, so when you see the wheel wells there, be cautious about putting it in. Now, where an enamel product is perfect is you can put it in an area like the wheel wells, then using the thinners, you can be confident that you're going to be able to get it back out as much as you want. Something like this is kind of in that area, but if you can't get to it, you're not going to get it out. Whereas with an enamel product, if you can't necessarily get to it, you can flood that area with enamel thinners, and that will actually help you get rid of it. So it's very useful. This product is very useful across large, wide areas. It's very much an aircraft thing. Very much large wings and fuselages is perfect for. Other sort of smaller areas is where you want to bring in your enamel or oil-based washes. And now just got a bit of it going on around the canopy as well. So that's still masked. Again, you could probably do this without the masking on it and actually just do it with the clear part showing. But just doing up the smaller areas now. And there we go. So just a bit of a close-up there now of how it looks. And it's showing it's got some good effects there. And it's a rewarding product to use, because it's very low effort, I've got to be honest, compared to all the ways you could do weathering. This must be the lowest effort possible, but it does have quite a return. You know, there's a lot going on there. You can see it looks pretty clean, but the closer up you get, there's a lot of bits and pieces happening there. There's detail, there's interest, and it gives it sells the overall effect. It makes it look good from kind of tabletop distance. It ain't going to win any awards. But, you know, you're not going to get that sort of thing anyway for putting in slightly less effort. So you pay a price. If you're not going to spend 20 hours on a project, there isn't one product and you can then go and just spend an hour on and it buys you back the 20 hours. But it also is a quick way to the end of a project, which is also useful as well. And that's what I needed here. I needed a quick end to this project. There was a lot of information, a lot of content, a lot of hours wrapped up in this build, and I was going, I was in danger of sort of thinking, right, that's enough of that, and maybe just binning it off or not finishing it or whatever. Well, it's obviously glad we haven't done that, because there's a lot on offer here, I think. And this was a useful product to get us to that point. Getting out 6 or 7 different enamel washes would have been a bit of a tall ask for this to be honest. So there you are. So I'm happy with that. Now, the old Corsair's rather gangly. I didn't realise that. I had no idea till I got it up on its legs, and I thought, God, it is a bit of an old gangly goose a little bit, but it's got to be one of the more attractive aircraft from the Second World War. I mean, it's high up the list as far as popularity, and I mean, everyone likes a Corsair, surely. Now, getting these parts on made me realise that something wasn't quite right. I was a little bit out of alignment here, so I don't know where that happened. I felt like I followed the instructions all the way through, but putting these bars and support arms and stuff on, they weren't in the right place, and I got in a bit of a pickle. And I wasn't able to, I was just expecting it to glue it in there and pop it in the hole. That might be the case here, but you'll see popping it in the hole pulled it out of the other one. And when I actually squared it up head on, it wasn't quite right. So I had to do a bit of twisting. And in fact, I think I cut one of the support arms. I thought it was hydraulic, so I've now seen through photos that I don't think it is a hydraulic arm. But I cut one off anyway to give me a bit of leverage, and then put a piece of plastic rod back in there. Now, I painted them silver. I don't think they were silver, but I was quite happy with it come the end. As I say, it's a very attractive aircraft. A little bit of faffing here, as you can see again. We're back again. Look, and he's pulled it out again. So if you ever struggle with this, you're not alone. This sort of thing, if this happens to you, always happens to me when I turn the camera on, and it happens quite a lot when the camera's off anyway. But there we are. Here's one I did earlier. As you can see, hopefully I'll show you, there's a bit of a flash of it then. You can see I've got it all lined up, it's looking right, but where that white rod is, I had to just cut that and put that on, and it gave me just enough play to get it back in shape. And we're starting to get there now. It's starting to look exactly what we're hoping for, and it's nice to have a Corsair built and up on the channel. And that's really all I could ask for from here, and I'm very thankful to have this done. So to show you it's not all about the dark wash, and again, because this is a vehicle, it's back to the enamel washes, and I don't apologise for it. This really is just a sludge wash, and I wasn't trying to do anything else. So plaster it on, almost a bit of a wargaming technique this, streaking grime in every area you could possibly get it into, and then just with thinners, just wipe it off. Same sort of principle as what we're doing with the flory wash, but a different effect. And again, this is basic stuff, this is me sort of skipping a few steps here to do this. Just racing towards the finish line is how I would describe it. You can obviously take a lot more time to do stuff like this. But I've got it on the desk next to me here, and to be honest with you, I mean, it doesn't look too bad. The figures could do with matting down. That's the one thing I didn't do. I paint up the figures. But yeah, I mean, overall, it just looks the part. If you were taking this to a display, if you were doing a model show and just displaying on your club table, nothing wrong with these methods. Not every build has to be an award winner. Or even, It'd be nice if one build was an award winner, wouldn't it? But there we are. I suppose you've got to actually enter the awards, and you've got to put some time and effort in. So most of us, I don't think, have got our eyes set on Best in Show at Telford or your regional IPMS, I think most of us are pretty happy with getting a model off the build bench, to be honest with you, and getting it finished. And that's really what most of my channel's about, is the inspiration to try, and let's not worry about what's wrong with it. Let's just go on and get to the end of it, say, well, we learned something there, it looks good on the display cabinet. No one's gonna, most of the people who aren't modelers who come round aren't going to have a clue what you have got in that model that's a hang up for you. I mean, they're just going to go, cool, yeah, that's nice, and that's it. Most of us, if they even care. A lot of people do find it all a bit odd, this, but if you're in it, it's a great hobby, and I think there's a lot to be taken from it. And the hobby really is about finishing models, and I think it's where we need to sort of focus on a little bit more, and maybe not get caught up in hyper detailing every single build and making every build like the people we see on the internet who we think are absolutely fantastic. You know, that's good for them. Let's just get a model finished. And with that in mind, it's time to finish up this build now. So there is a couple things I did here that I don't think I show. First thing, I wasn't going to do it, but I did, and I'm glad I did, was paint the landing light silver, and then the main light I just put in some PVA glue and glaze, and on the other side, the three lights, I painted them with the clear red, orange and green, and you can see them there not painted, and that was a very rewarding thing to spend your time on, because it makes it pop, gives you a little bit of colour. Same with everything. Touch of colour in a build always makes the model pop. So that's trusty old LP11 now going around just to paint up some of the silver parts. Very good paint, that. And we've painted up the figure off camera. You know, we didn't need to start worrying about actually painting figures. This is the bit I paint up silver. Oh, I'm not sure it is. I think it's actually should be that chromate green. That's my understanding. I thought it was like a hydraulic rod, but I don't think it is. Or if it is, I don't think it was bright silver. But there we are. Who's gonna know? Other than the people I've just told in this video. A terrible brush, but it's painting lacquer, so I wouldn't want to use a good brush. Again, you know, as long as you know a brush is not good, it's not necessarily a problem. The problem is when you think you've got a good brush and it's a terrible brush. That does lead to issues. But if you know you've got a very bad brush, then you sort of can compensate for it, which is what I did there. And there you can see I've painted in the landing light, just silver, and put in some PVA glue. Nearly broke the tow bar there. Do it quite often. I bend that. It's actually quite resilient, but it's going to break at some point. And there you can see painted in the landing lights. It is amazing how much that lifts the model. Did it on the navigation lights and those ones under the wing as well. Now you can see, looking at the model, you know, I've cut corners. It's absolutely fine for what it is. And we've got some photos coming up shortly to show you that, to maybe prove the point. Like I said, not an award winner. They don't all have to be. But I feel like I say that a lot with my recent builds. I do promise I've got some, I'm going to go all out on some in the future, so we'll see them. It should bring the level up a little bit on the channel. But I'm hoping not to alienate all the people who are still looking at more basic builds and enjoying that. So this is one of those with some complexity in areas, especially if you watch part one. So we're going to leave you now with a few photos, but as always, thanks for watching. If you want to help and support the channel, there's links in the description below. Love to know your comments as always, so you know, don't hold back, go on, fire away in the comments below. Let me know what you think of this build. And hey, maybe let me know what you might like to see in the future as well, certainly aircraft based. But as always, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.